Imagine having the time and money to follow your passions and live life on your own terms. Welcome to Podcasting Mastery, where you'll learn the secrets of podcasting your way to a stress-free lifestyle. Let's grab a cool tropical drink and then join James, Kimberly, and the Turtle in the Secret Beach Hut studio.
Yes, this is James Martell along with Kimberly Juchnowski.
Hi, everyone.
And we are again tucked into the Secret Beach Hut studio, and we're glad you've decided to join us. In the last episode, we talked about how to monetize an ebook with a podcast and how I did exactly that to the tune of $5,000 a month with an upsell to ebook purchasers to my $10 monthly podcast way back in 2003, and how I did it all in less than 2 hours a month. If you haven't had a chance to check out episode number 3, I would encourage you to do so. This week, though, we're going to be continuing our conversation about developing a lifestyle business so we can all spend less time doing business and spending more time with family, more time traveling, and more time doing the things we want to do. It's for these reasons we focus on strategies for both developing a passive income stream and passive ways of developing new clients and customers for your business. Today we're going to talk about a case study of a local business owner that I've had the good fortune of working with that has increased the number of new clients through his door by a whopping 1,700% using 5 simple little 3.5 minute audios, and how you could probably do the same for your business as well.
James, before we get into this, let's head out onto the deck for a little ocean breeze to help start setting the tone for the show, which is to work less, earn more, and swim with the turtles.
It's such a great tagline, if I may say so, because I think work less. I think everybody wants to work less. Earn more. I don't know anybody that wouldn't like to earn more. And then swimming with the turtles basically represents the freedom to be able to go do what you want to do when you want to do it with whom you want to do it. And you and I, along with many listeners, are working on building more lifestyle into our business, where we really can do a lot less business and spend more time with our own families and traveling and the things that we like to do. You happen to be one of those crazy people that travel quite extensively, and before we kind of jump into all of this, I would agree, let's kind of set the tone a little bit more for the show, and keep this in mind, keep this front and center all the time, that we're looking to develop a lifestyle business. So with that in mind, talk about your marketing tactic, or the marketing tactic you used for your second trip to Thailand.
Okay. It's pretty interesting. I guess it's not very traditional. So, as I've said in previous episodes, that I have traveled to Thailand on a number of occasions. So the second time I went was just after I had put together my first affiliate marketing website. So it was a travel website about traveling in Southeast Asia. Mm-hmm. So just finished launching that, had some content on it, and had my affiliate links all set and was ready to get rolling. But of course, I didn't stick around to work on my business here. I actually went back to Thailand to continue the saga and make sure there was nice, fresh content, and I was living what I was talking about on my website. The only thing is I wasn't really completely educated on the marketing side of the business before I had left, so I was sort of trying to figure out ways on my own that I could sort of promote my business other than through SEO and those things. Of course, I was using those marketing strategies as well. But what I would do actually is, back then there was a ton of internet cafes. So this was in 2009, I guess. Yeah, it was in 2009, I'm pretty sure.
6 years ago?
Yeah, there weren't as many people backpacking with laptops and iPods and things like this. I mean, they did, but not to the extent that they do now. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of internet cafes out there and internet shops where you can go in and you pay $3 for an hour of internet or a half hour of internet. So these are the hot spots for travelers, because they'd go in, make reservations for wherever they're going to next, or research what's around the area for tours and packages and things like that. So that was the main reason why people were using these computers, that and to communicate with family. So what I started doing was...
I remember hearing about this.
I would go into these cafes and I'd actually pull up my website on each of the computers. When I was done doing my emails or updating my website, I would actually just leave the browsers open with all of my stuff in the background and like business cards strewn about. So when somebody came in, and they opened up the browser, then Tiki Kiki would be there, and it would be all about traveling in Southeast Asia. And right on the front page, it says, this is what you should do in Thailand, and tips and travel and things like that. So that was my very direct marketing campaign, I guess you would call it. Go guard all the computers and leave my site open for everyone to see. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But I did get some traffic from it.
Oh, I'm sure. Talk about target marketing, considering your website's all about the area you happen to be in, Thailand and Southeast Asia, and you're talking to other tourists, of course, who would also be using these internet cafes. No, I actually remember you telling me about that.
I saved them a step. This way they don't have to search for things. It's right there. It's all right there for them.
Well, and guerrilla marketing at its finest, I must say.
Yeah.
And I'm going to actually ask you about the jungle story in a future episode too, speaking of guerrilla marketing. So
that's funny, elephant marketing. That actually ties into the challenge, though, that a lot of business owners have, typically starting from scratch and not really knowing how to get their marketing materials and marketing campaigns together. They might not be really quite sure what to do, so that sort of ties into our episode. Why don't you talk a little bit about some other challenges that we'll talk about specifically with our case study that we're going to be discussing today?
Sure. Now, one of the things that I've learned about the internet and when it comes to small business, and it's quite surprising really when you think about it, we all look at the internet as this great happening, and this, we're living in a very interesting time to get to watch this thing come from literally nothing to now it's permeating every piece of our lives. And small business owners, you would think for the most part that they would be jumping up and down about the internet. Yay, what a great place to get new customers. But the reality of it is, I've spoken to enough of them, and I've learned that the internet is not a panacea for them. It actually has been a huge problem because they were so used to using the more traditional forms of advertising, the yellow pages, the newspapers, the coupon books, all of these old style, old school marketing strategies that have been around for decades that were a little expensive. Yellow pages could cost $1,000, $2,000 a month for some businesses and more, and newspaper advertising as well. But of course, that doesn't work like it used to by any stretch. So it's kind of left them in this quandary where they still need to promote their business, but now they've got this new animal we call the internet, and they got to figure out how to market their business online. Meanwhile, they're busier than bees. They're not sure who to trust. They get calls at the office probably weekly from people promising them online riches and Google rankings and just trust us and send us money. We'll put you in our directory and you'll have all the customers that you could ever want. And it never seems to pan out, or very rarely. So they have this problem. It's a real challenge for them because they still need to promote their business. So one of the things I want to talk about today is this little case study that we've done. He's actually a chiropractor, and he's based in the Victoria market, Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. So that's right at the south end of Vancouver Island. Beautiful, beautiful little city. And he, like many businesses, was looking for new patients, in his case, or new clients to come through his door. So I got to chatting with him. He was referred to me by one of his colleagues down in California, who said, talk to James. And I was talking with him, and I discovered pretty much the same story we just talked about. Not knowing who to trust, phones ringing all the time, spending money, but things are not working out. So, but I ultimately learned that he was only getting one new patient a month from the internet. And it's like, okay, well, that's a place that we can definitely start. And I just began to explain a couple of strategies to him. Number one, some basics of SEO. And you know it, you work in the SEO area and with your WordPress clients all the time, that it's really not rocket science, is it?
Yeah, and it's not. You just need to know the basics and have yourself organized from the get-go. That's the thing. Like, have a plan in place.
Exactly. And we're going to be talking about exactly what that means in upcoming episodes. But in his case, he needed a little bit of cleanup in his SEO area. But the biggest thing that I think we did for him was we definitely helped him increase traffic through search. So we have him now highly positioned in Google. But more importantly, what we did is we created these audios for him, these little 3.5-minute audio messages that when somebody would land on a page, they would play automatically. And let me tee it up a little bit if I could. because I think it's important. Because what this does, like many businesses, he's up against some pretty stiff competition. Every time he goes online, you can see them all around him. And he's a chiropractor, so there's a lot of other businesses out there that are kind of the Me Too competitors. They all have a tendency to look the same. You get a list of chiropractors. They all seem to do the same thing. Who do I choose? So these little audios really helped him set himself apart from his competitors. And like we talked about earlier, he's a chiropractor. He knows his business very well. He's not very internet savvy by his own admission. He's busier than a bee with his practice. And he's not wanting to waste his time, which he's had an unfortunate situation a couple of times with other people that he's worked with. And he definitely doesn't want to waste any of his hard-earned money. So with all of that in mind, we came up with a little strategy that I think you'll find, maybe we could talk about this right after the break, but that really increased his business. It took him from 1 new patient a month to a whopping 16 new patients a month. Not only calling him up and booking an appointment, but actual turning a listener into an actual patient who's coming through the door at his practice. So, and that's actually continued on for well over a year now, and up over 200 new patients through his practice just by putting these little audios together. So maybe you could take us to a break. Yeah,
it is time for a break actually. So when we return, we'll talk about exactly what we did for Dr. Kale to increase the number of his new clients. So we'll go through a little bit of a step-by-step and a few other questions to really dive into the work that we did there. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
More Podcasting Mastery with James and Kimberly from the Secret Beach Hut Studio after this. Would you love to spend less time doing business and more time enjoying your family, more time traveling, and more time doing all of the things that matter to you most? Whether you're looking to develop a passive monthly income stream or you're looking for passive ways of generating new clients and customers for your business, James Martell's free podcasting webinar is the place to start. James Martell, an 11-year podcasting veteran, will show you how to quickly and easily launch a podcast that will impress all who hear it to attract all of the clients and customers you need, and how to do it all in less than 1 hour a week using equipment you already own. Register now for this lifestyle and business-changing webinar at podcastingmastery.com/webinar. We'll see you there. Once again, that's www.podcastingmastery.com/webinar. Now, back to Podcasting Mastery from the Secret Beach Hut Studio.
And we're back. So we were talking about Dr. Kale, who is a local chiropractor here in British Columbia. Well, James, I'll just dive right into it. So what exactly, I know you touched on this already just before the break, but for people who are just joining us, what exactly is it that you did for Dr. Kale?
In his particular case, his website is called vfchiro.com. So it's short for VictoriaFamilyChiro.com, so vfchiro.com. So listeners could actually go take a peek at this if they'd like. But essentially, when we got started, we did basically 3 things. We cleaned up his SEO, which I'll talk about in a second. We increased or offered him up a strategy to increase his reviews. But then the most important thing we did is we added 3.5 minute audio attention grabbers, or mini podcasts, if you will. So if I could start off maybe with the SEO. The SEO was just some basic cleanup. There's lots of good little tools out there to clean up SEO, measuring keyword density on the page. A lot of times websites don't rank, not because they're poorly written, but they just weren't written with the search engines in mind. So we basically did a little cleanup there. Number 2 is with Google and local rankings, one of the things you really want to focus in on is your reviews, especially your Google reviews. And we're going to talk about these in upcoming episodes as well, because this all does tie into podcasting. It's because in this particular instance with the audio attention grabber, the reason we put those on the page, these audios, is because it's one thing to get the visitor to the page, and when you clean up the SEO and you clean up the number of reviews you've got online, and you work on strategies to increase those, of course you're going to get more people coming to your site. Now, the problem is, though, it's one thing to get them to the site. It's a whole other thing to get them to actually pick up the phone and give you a call, or to actually go through the process and fill out a lead form, however you're interacting with your prospects. So in Dr. Kale's case, we put together these little audios for I would say probably 3 reasons. We wanted to help him build credibility quickly, because imagine now somebody's coming to the site, they don't really know who he is. He's got a bunch of Me Too competitors out there, so he needs to stand out. We need to figure out a way to make him stand out over everybody else. So that's one reason we put the audio on. Second reason is we wanted to garner trust. These people don't know him from, I love the saying, from Adam, because Adam's my oldest son, but it seems to be a popular saying. So build credibility, garner trust, and then number 3, the big one, is to increase conversion, to actually move that visitor from a visitor to actually somebody who's going to take an action and pick up the phone and call the number on his website. And these audios did it. And let's do this. Instead of me trying to explain what this is, let me just play a little audio clip from one of his actual audios that we put together. And let me just tee it up a little bit. So imagine now you're living in the Victoria area. Maybe you've been in a car accident and you've got whiplash. Somebody has said, hey, you know what? You should get a hold of a chiropractor. They go to Google, they do a search, there's a list of them, ends up clicking on Kale, Dr. Kale, because he's at the top of the list, starts there, lands on the page that's about whiplash and neck pain, and a little audio begins to grab the attention. And without further ado, let me just play it, and then we'll pick it up right after.
I'm your host, Kimberly Henry, and I'm here with Dr. Cale Copeland from Victoria Family Chiropractic, and we're discussing chiropractic care and how it relates to a motor vehicle accident. You know, when you get in an accident, you ask questions like, who's going to fix my car? What will I drive in the meantime? Will my insurance rates go up? And who's going to pay for it? Those are all important questions. But the big question is, am I really okay? Dr. Copeland?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, you know, from a chiropractic perspective, and we see a lot of people that have had motor vehicle accidents, and motor vehicle accidents can oftentimes be major health issues for people. And, you know, I guess the area that I want to talk about today is in particular the upper neck. Now, the upper neck is a really unique area of the body. It's that transition point between when the brain changes into the spinal cord, and it's called the brain stem. So many of our functions come off of there, things like breathing, blood pressure, immune function, hormones, mood, vision, hearing, balance. And most of I shouldn't say all the time, it's very common for people to sustain.
So now, didn't that sound great, Kimberly?
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. So this is the audio that's sitting on a service page, say?
That's right, exactly right. There's 5 of them, 5 different audios, one for each of the different services he offers. So the beautiful thing about it is, though, you can hear, first of all, we have a professional host there who's talking to the doctor. So some of the dynamics that goes on there is when you have somebody who's being interviewed, they're instantly perceived
positioned as an expert. Yeah.
Absolutely. Instantly. We're so used to listening to people on the radio being interviewed that they're not going to interview you if you're not an expert. So that's number 1. Number 2, he gets to answer questions that visitor probably has in their mind, and situations and the pain and everything that they're dealing with. They get to connect on an emotional level very quickly just by listening to this audio. So it really does connect. And then, if we could do this, let me play what we call the call to action, because again, it's one thing to get them to the site. It's even another thing to get them to listen to the beginning of the audio, draw them into the conversation. But now what we need to do is we need that new visitor, that potential client, to actually take an action and give in this particular instance, give Dr. Cale's office a call to book an appointment. But you may have, for anybody that's running a business where you're generating leads and you need more clients, whether it's through a lead form or picking up the telephone and giving you a call or sending you an email, however you're doing it, this is ideal, because now listen to what happens here. Let's fast forward a little bit. Keep in mind, this is only a 3.5 minute audio, but I'm gonna block out most of the middle of it because it's not really pertinent here. But by this point, Dr. Cale's already answered 2 or 3 really key questions that the host, Kimberly Henry, had asked him. Now what we want to do is we want to move the visitor from just a listener to actually take the action to pick up the telephone and give Dr. Cale's office a call to book an appointment. So let's hear how this unfolds.
Can you think of someone who might benefit from what we've covered here today? They'll thank you for forwarding this on to them. If you're interested in scheduling a consultation, you can see Dr. Copeland's phone number in the top right-hand corner of the page. You can follow us on Twitter at ChiroCale. That's ChiroCale. And you can join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Dr. Copeland. Dr. Copeland from Victoria Family Chiropractic. Thank you so much.
Okay, so there you go. So I think it's probably pretty evident now that if somebody lands on a page where you've got somebody being interviewed addressing the questions that are specific to the person who's exactly on that page, then give them a nice call to action, the conversion rate probably will be higher. In this case, much higher. And in just about every case that I've ever worked with, this works just about every time. In fact, I can't really think of one instance where this doesn't work extremely well. But you can see how I think we've accomplished all the goals with his audio attention grabber. Build credibility, garner trust, increase conversion by asking the visitor, the listener, to take a call to action. So I think audio is probably the most underutilized marketing strategy that people have at their fingertips. And what to me is interesting. Now think about this, Kimberly. What is the most natural way in which we, meaning all of us, communicate?
To speak to someone, to have a conversation, yeah.
Exactly, to talk to each other. And the beautiful thing about an audio, that's all they're doing. Kimberly's having a little conversation with Dr. Kale, who's essentially talking to the visitor about their problems and then asking them to take an action, give them a call, come in and see us, see if we can help you out.
Yeah. I think part of it, too, is that people do, with the audio call to action, people like to be told what to do, especially if they're in a situation where they're in pain and they're looking for a solution. Or if you're looking for a solution to anything, really, it is nice to just be told, hey, go here, do this. And if you already have that trust established, which you do by the end of this audio that they're listening to, it seems like it would be a higher conversion. Another point that I'd like to make is, you said audio is the most underutilized marketing tool, I guess you would call it. I think part of that is probably because people don't quite know how to start using it or don't know how to put it together. So how would you suggest to somebody who's never done any audio marketing or podcasting, how would you suggest that they organize the audios, like from a point of like getting somebody to record it, like a host or audio, or how you can actually structure it, right?
Sure. And I think that's a great place to start, is the structure first of the message or of the information that you're wanting to share. I've got a very simple little formula that I follow. We always welcome. Firstly, I try to marry up a host with the person being interviewed for the reason that it does position you as the expert instantly. Now, you can do one without having a host. So if you don't have a host, don't let that stop you. But if you do have a professional host that you can tap the shoulder on, and maybe you know somebody in the radio business, maybe your spouse could do it, because you could hear this is not complicated. We'll get into talking about some of the fears of doing this and how to get over that upcoming in additional episodes. But in this particular case, you have a nice little welcome. And you heard with Kimberly, she kind of teed it up. She talked about being in a car accident, they're worried about their car, all of that stuff. But ultimately, am I okay? And then she asked the doctor that. And that really is just the welcome and then basically the first question. And then the doctor, in this particular case, just answered the question. So you want to identify 2 or 3 of the big questions the person has pertaining to your particular service that you're offering or your product. So once you identify those, and I usually package them up as the need or desire. So in the case of the doctor here and somebody with whiplash, it's easy to find out what their need is or their desire is. Their need is they need to feel better. They're hurting, they're worried, they're concerned. The desire is they want to feel better. So we just package those up into 3 little questions. Then at the end of it, it's what we call the call to action. And this is where the host in this particular example actually says to the doctor, or says to the listener, to give Dr. Kale a call. And you can hear her direct them to the phone number at the top right-hand corner of the page, and to also follow him on Facebook, and maybe, if I recall, share him on Twitter. But to basically engage, to give us a call at the office, book appointment, shares the contact information again, and then basically says goodbye, and it's done. Mm-hmm. So pretty simple as far as organizing the information. So
from like a production point of view, how was, say, Dr. Kale's, we'll use that as an example, obviously, how was his created? like from the production standpoint,
Sure.
rather than organization.
Sure. So in our particular case, we actually offer a service for this for clients. We can talk about this in a moment. But for those of you that want to do it yourself, it's actually not that complicated at all. So once you have the outline or the structure of your audio, your script, I guess for lack of a better word, and if you've got a host, wonderful, you can conduct the interview actually very simply. The easiest way to record one of these interviews is using a service called AccuConference. AccuConference.com. It's a conference calling service that you can call into as let's say you were a doctor, let's say, or a service provider, a business professional that has a product or service, and you want to develop some of these audio attention grabbers. So you can go over to AccuConference.com and you can pick up their service. It doesn't cost anything to join them, but you need to actually put your credit card on file. And then what happens is they give you an 800 number that you can call into, or a direct dial or local number as well. So you can choose which one you use. If you use the direct dial number, that's not the toll-free line, it's going to cost you 10 cents per minute per side. So the two of you can just get on a phone call, you and the host, and they can then quickly interview you. And what happens is you both dial into the same 800 number, enter the extension number, and what you'll hear is, this call is being recorded. And then you just do the interview, and then when you're done, you can hang up. And now what happens is you wait 2 or 3 minutes, you log into the back of your AccuConference system, and then there's a nice little MP3 sitting there all ready to roll. Now, you probably going to want to do some editing on it. You can use a little piece of software for that. I happen to use one called Audacity by SourceForge. So if you do a search for Audacity by SourceForge, and we're going to be talking a lot about Audacity over the coming sessions. If you can use Microsoft Word, you can figure out how to edit these little audios. They're very simple to do. But then you just import it into your little audio editor, and you actually do the editing.
Perfect. Seems simple enough, straightforward.
Yeah, it's pretty basic. Then you need to come up with a little player and stuff. Then you can do a Google search for a free MP3 audio player to add to your website. They're everywhere these days because audio really is coming on strong. And then you're good to go. If you want to add a little bit of music to the front and back end, one of the services that we use, as you know, is Audio Jungle, and you can purchase a little music clip, a royalty-free music clip for usually $1 or $2. And you can add that to the beginning or the end. You can edit out any ums and ahs, embed it in the player, and then add it to your site. And if any of this sounds too technical, don't worry. It's really not that complicated once you dig in. There's so many good tutorials around for this type of thing now. Ultimately, though, if you can see the power of how these audios can take you from one client a month to a whopping 16 new clients a month, that consistently happens month after month after month, like it is with Dr. Kale, and you understand the lifetime value of a client that can continually come back over and over again, you can see whatever it costs to get these things organized is really no big deal, because the beautiful thing about audio is once you've produced it, Dr. Kale's, we put those on the site well over a year ago, and they just sit there and they work for me every single day. Every day those are playing. Yeah, I think it's amazing.
And it hits people like it's something different, right? If you're researching 10 different chiropractors in your area, which one is going to grab your attention, right? Like the competition isn't weak over there with chiropractors for sure. So anything that sets you apart is pretty good.
Absolutely.
So if somebody did think that this is a little bit too much, like no, it's not technical, but I just don't have the time, is it a service that you still offer? I know you do full podcasting, but do you offer audio attention grabbers as a service?
We do offer this as a service. And listeners, for those of you, if this sounds like something you'd like to try out, we'll handhold you through the whole thing and actually produce the episodes. We'll organize the script. We'll provide the host. We'll do the interviews. We'll carve it up, do the editing, the ums and the ahs, add some music to it, use one of our audio players, and embed it on your website all for you. And you can find out all the details of that at podcastingmastery.com/grab attention.
Mm-hmm. So I'd like to shift gears a little bit. We're coming up actually pretty close to the end of this episode. So just to touch on how these audio attention grabbers and Dr. Kale's story really ties into the theme of our show, which is working less and traveling more and things like that. Travel as a habit, you can make more money easier, more time freedom. I think the method that Dr. Kale's using on his site, it really helps him cut down the amount of time that he has to spend on his marketing. Instead of coming up with complex marketing campaigns each month and doing mail outs and things like that's typical of a chiropractor to do. He's got these audios. They sit on his site. You do them once, they're done. They're being used over and over. And he's actually seeing a vast increase in new clientele from the internet because of his search engine rankings and the conversion that he has on the page due to these audios grabbing people's attention and things like that. So it actually frees up his time. So instead of spending X amount of time working on this marketing and trying to figure out how to get more clients, it's already done and it's already working, and new clients are coming in the door, which of course makes him more money and allows him a little bit more freedom, right?
Absolutely. That's one of the things, of course, we talk about in the show is focusing on strategies that develop a passive monthly income stream for those that are looking at podcasting as maybe a standalone business, but also for business owners such as Dr. Kale that are looking for passive ways of developing new clients and customers for the business. Because the beautiful thing about the internet, if you can employ strategies or put strategies in place that actually work, like you said, you don't have to be looking for new marketing strategies month after month after month. You can add to it, but wouldn't it be nice next month if you're going to do something else that the stuff you put in place this month is still working for you, and it wasn't like the newspaper that went out and brought you maybe a client or three, but then it's over, or all of those types of marketing strategy. I'm a big proponent of putting strategies in place that have legs, that have a long-term life cycle that can work for you today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, 2 years from now. Those audios on Dr. Kale's site, why would they ever come off? They're a great little thing.
His services aren't changing every month either, right? Like, this is a type of business where you're offering the same services and there's not a lot of shift in his industry as to what he's doing. I mean, maybe you'd have to update it a little bit more if you had a strictly online business, or it depends on your niche really. But for chiropractors and brick and mortar places, like, they really last a long time because there's not a ton of new services that he's going to be offering each week where he needs to worry about switching out audios, and it does focus around his main services. I'm sure he has other, like, I'm not sure if he does hydrotherapy. I know some chiropractors do that sort of thing, but he could always add to it later. It doesn't necessarily mean that he has to switch anything, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And with our audio attention grabber service, we do 5 audios, and that usually covers the primary services or products or services for most businesses. So it's definitely a great place to start. So again, podcastingmastery.com/grab attention. So I can see we're coming up pretty much against the clock here again. Let me throw it to you. I know it's your turn for podcast of the week. What do you got for us?
I have Customer Driven Podcast. So it's hosted by Don Campbell. He's the owner of Expand2Web. The subject of the podcast is how to get online reviews and how to actually deal with online reviews. So it revolves around the world of online reviews, so the Yelps and the directories and things like that. So a lot of people don't feel in control of what people are saying about their brand online. This basically tells you how to take control of that, how to leverage bad reviews, how bad reviews can actually work to your advantage. So it gets really, really into detail about your business online, like your brand reviews through Yelp and all of these different things. It's really awesome content. It's good to know because it's something that scares a lot of people, and you don't have to be if you know how to leverage it properly. So Don Campbell's definitely the go-to guy for anything review-based. He actually also has a service, Get 5 Stars, which is a whole nother topic, actually, so I won't get into it. But if you follow his podcast, you'll definitely get to his Get 5 Stars service.
Terrific.
Helps you be basically the gatekeeper, right? So there's about 8 episodes. They're about 15 minutes in length. Nothing I really don't like about that, just that there aren't more. And I will throw it to you for the podcast tool of the day.
Yeah, podcast tool of the day, I would say this week is the Blueberry PowerPress podcasting plugin. Let's throw as many P's in there as we can.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful little WordPress plugin. It's free, so if you happen to be using WordPress, and I think you probably should be, and more than likely already are. If you're not sure if you're using WordPress on your website, just whatever your domain name is, abc.com/wp-admin should bring up a WordPress login page if you happen to be using WordPress. But it's a beautiful little free plugin that makes it very easy for you to add a podcast to your website. One of the things we challenged everybody to do a few episodes ago was to go buy a great little headset with a microphone. Next, I guess, would be a good little challenge is to start investigating some of these other tools that we can use. And this one happens to be free. And again, it's the Blueberry PowerPress podcasting plugin. And just do a Google search for it. It's awesome. I use it on my own personal site. We use it for Podcasting Mastery as well. It's just a wonderful little tool. And again, it's free.
Before you wrap up, James, also for the Customer Driven Podcast, I didn't throw a URL out there. So you can can actually find it at www.expand2, as in the number 2, web.com/blog, and you can find all those episodes there.
Terrific. So that's expand2web.com/blog. And we'll always include this type of information as well in the show notes. And also a reminder, if you have your own podcast or a podcasting tool that you want us to feature on the show, email it to us at featureme@podcastingmastery.com, and we may just do exactly that. Also, I think we got a free report for you here today that ties in perfectly to our conversation, and it's actually 12 audio marketing ideas report, or the 12 audio marketing ideas report. We talked about audio attention grabbers today. In that free report, you'll find 11 other ways you can use audio, one of them being podcasting, one of them being the audio attention grabber. So that leaves, I guess, 10 additional ideas for you to generate more customers and business through your door. So you can find that at podcastingmastery.com/ideas. Kimberly, any final thoughts?
No, I think we're ready to wrap this up.
All right, everyone.
Get some cocktails.
Absolutely. Fire up the blender. I think it's time to call it a day.
Yes. Take care, everyone.
Bye for now.
Thanks for joining us in the Secret Beach Hut Studio. If you are ready to start your podcasting adventure and to learn the secrets of podcasting your way to a stress-free lifestyle, go ahead and download the free Podcasting Mastery Checklist at podcastingmastery.com/checklist and start your adventure today. But don't wait, the checklist won't be free for long, so be sure to grab your free copy today at podcastingmastery.com/checklist.